This is such a massive middle-class tax cut. Every example we keep running through over and over and over, people are either paying no tax or saving money, and what somebody pays at the higher end has nothing to do with anything, right? If you cut taxes, it's going to generate activity. You're getting the corporate rate down from 35%, which is non-competitive. Our jobs are going overseas. Companies are not bringing the money back. We didn't even talk about repatriation. It's getting down to 21%. Look, I would have liked 15. I'll take 21. It beats 35, right? And now the Democrats' argument is, well, it's going to sunset. It's going to go away and the corporate tax cuts are permanent. Well, the corporate tax cuts have to be permanent in the bill, because if they're not, you're not going to get companies to make capital investments and change their behavior long term. If they think something is temporary, they're not going to do it. That's why they had to be permanent, to get the change you want to bring the jobs back and to grow the economy. On the personal side, they can go ahead and say it's going to sunset, but if the economy is growing and revenues are up and people are saving money, what congressperson is going to vote for then, which would be the biggest tax cut in history? Who's going to do that and keep their job in Congress? Nobody. So that is a Democrat nonsensical red herring. They keep getting on my show. They get on CNN. They get on MSNBC. They get on whatever shows they're on, and they're not telling you the truth. They're telling you this, a tax cut is going to go up. This is a tax cut for the middle class. And if you're itemizing and you've got a bajillion deductions, there's only a couple of them going away. The majority, 70% of the people don't itemize. When this thing is said and done, that's going to get cut by 2/3. You're basically going to have about 8% people itemizing, because you can take the deduction. If you're married, up to $24,000. The standard, if you're single, up to 12, you don't pay taxes on it. If you've got children, you're getting $2,000 tax credit right off your bill. We run through example after example. The Democrats are going crazy because this is going to pass, and then the economy is going to take off. It's going to boom. Wages and jobs go up. People have money in their pocket. And then what do? Their only policy right now is Trump sucks. I mean, that is their entire policy. What do the Democrats stand for now? Trump sucks, okay? Now you got more money in your pocket. 401k's up, stocks are up, economy's going great. Now what do? They see power, they smell power, they see it, and this tax cut passes, it goes away. That's why their hair's on fire. Nothing else. Joining us now to help straighten all this out, Congressman, 2nd District Republican, that's the Virginia Beach area and up through the peninsula, Scott Taylor. Congressman Scott Taylor, good to have you with us, man.
John, good morning. I don't know how the hell you listen to some of those montages. I was just listening to Bernie, and of course he was like, well, what is this? You're having conference with a bill that's already written. Well, that's how it happens, man. A bill gets written, it gets passed in each house, and then it goes to conference. That's exactly how it's supposed to happen. He wouldn't know that because he's never passed a bill in his whole career. He's been in Congress. I don't know how you listen to some of those things. They're painful.
Well, we love to give both sides, right? That's what our show does. We love to give a platform to everybody, and we've had Bernie Sanders on our show many times, and it does good radio, and he's quite entertaining. So we love to give everybody their say. We just had Bobby Scott on. I mean, he is still giving the Democratic talking points that this is a tax increase of the middle class. There's no math that you can possibly do that is going to give you, if you are earning $75,000 with a family of 4, you're going to save $2,000. It's like $200 a month. That's a lot of money for people.
It is, and they're trying to, of course, say, well, they're trying to make people feel like victims. We're Americans, man. We're not victims. We get things, we move forward, we fall down, we get up, we dust our feet, dust our knees off, and move forward. And yes, this tax plan is going to help the middle class. Even the conference bill that came out, it's pushing more to the middle class. Of course, the Democrats are talking about the top rate, but the reality is, and I don't even like the word middle class, because it's how do you feel? How much if you make $100,000 in New York City, you damn sure are middle class. It's a little bit different than here. So, I want everyone to get a tax cut. Americans have been paying more taxes than in the history of the nation. So everyone should feel this. Everyone should get a tax break.
Congressman, are we going to get this passed?
Yeah, we are. I was at the White House a couple of days ago, having breakfast with General Kelly, which is great. He's awesome, great patriot. And we were speaking about this in the timeline. And then, of course, we had conference yesterday. And it's looking, I mean, the bill's out now from the conference bill, what we're going to be probably voting on first of next week, Monday, Tuesday timeframe. Senator McCain, his health is failing a little bit, so he's, they're trying to get it done in the Senate. There's another senator that's also having some health problems. So we want to get this done and give a nice Christmas present to the American people so they feel it right away next year.
We absolutely have to do that. One of the things in the reconciliation bill, Congressman Taylor, that I was very excited about is in the Senate version, the corporate tax cut, which I think is, look, I would have preferred it to be 15%. It's 21. It beats 35. But one thing they did is they made it effective in 2018 so we can get the benefit of the change now, not after the midterm elections. And secondly, because the personal cuts are in effect in 2018, Congressman, middle-class working people are going to see a raise in February because the amount that is being taken out for federal withholding is going to decrease based on their new tax schedule, right?
There's no question about it. You mentioned the folks that itemize. In my district, it's 2/3 of the folks in my district do not itemize. So right out of the gate, almost a doubling of the standard deduction, as you said earlier, and then, of course, the compression of the rates. So they're going to feel it right away. And it's funny. I had dinner with an ex-girlfriend of mine who lives in L.A. She's pretty liberal, and her family's very liberal. And she's sitting there, and we were talking, and she's like, I told my mom, who's rabidly anti-Trump, she's like, I feel good. My 401k is good. Everything's going well. My stocks are awesome. I think he's doing a good job. And when you couple that economy, that consumer, that business confidence that's out there with these great tax cuts, I mean, this could be a huge economic driver for our nation. It's a big deal. So you have Pelosi and all them screaming that it's the end of the world, that's going to hurt the middle class. And it's all BS. And they're going to overplay their hand there, of course. And people are going to feel good. And the economy is going to be booming. We're going to have a labor shortage. So I mean, what they're saying is ridiculous, and I'm excited to be a part of this and to vote for it next week.
Well, and the other thing, when you talk about 2/3 of the people in your district, in the 2nd district in Virginia, do not itemize and they take the standard deduction, once this tax cut passes and it goes into effect in 2018, that 30% that you've got right now that are itemizing, all the estimates say that's going to go down by about 60%. So the 30% becomes about 8%. Because the only people that are going to, in other words, you got to think about this itemization. First of all, for our listeners out there that itemize, itemization is not going away. You can still itemize to your heart's content. The only thing is there's now a cap on your mortgage deduction, which is home value up to $750,000. So if you
it's important to say something with that, John. So everybody who has a home now, it's grandfathered, and then as you said, $750,000. That's like 98% of homes that are out there.
Thank you.
They'll try to hit that, but that covers just about everyone, So, and the people that don't cover have a ton of money. So
exactly. I mean, they got a lot of money, and so you're not going to be able to deduct your state and local taxes, but you can deduct everything else, including up to $1,000 in your property taxes. That covers just about everybody in Virginia, except the people that live in McLean in the $25 million McMansions. So the whole argument is ridiculous. But the thing is, if you're married and you're getting a standard deduction of $24,000, okay, your itemization would have to be over $24,000 for you to even bother to itemize. So that's why the number of people that itemize is going to get cut by probably, the estimates are 66%. So in 2019, the number of people in your district that are itemizing go from 30% to about 10%. Because it's also simplifying the code, which you're now able to do in about 15 seconds and mail it in on a postcard. That's why this thing is going to be so impactful. So, Congressman, you think you're going to get this passed. I talked to Louis Gohmert last night. He said that he thought the vote could be as soon as Monday. What's your sense?
Yes, I think so. I think, it's released now. It's going to give folks the weekend, of course, to review the changes for each respective side, of course. And, yeah, I think the timeline's Monday at the latest Tuesday, and perhaps, the House will vote one day, the Senate the next. We'll see. But, yeah, I think we're going to be done with the vote probably by Tuesday next week.
If we can do it, then it's going to get to the president. He can sign it before Christmas, and then people are going to see, again, a raise in their take-home pay as early as February. I mean, this is a big deal. And look, I got to tell you, Congressman, I have a lot of Democrat friends, as you know. I get many of them on my show. But in this instance, they're really lying to the American people. I mean, they're just lying to them. I don't know how nice, I can't find a nice way to say it, exaggerating maybe, but it's just a bold-faced lie. And then, I've got Congressman Scott on, and he's talking about a graduate student that can't deduct his interest from his student loan. Look, first of all, what graduate student is actually itemizing their taxes like 5 in America? I mean, come on, this is such a ridiculous argument. I mean, if you're a grad student and you're working on a stipend at your university, or you get a part-time job, how much could you possibly be earning? $30,000, $40,000, $50,000 max? 25?
Well, it's a good talking point too. But here's the reality, John. If I'm a grad student and I'm working through the university, teaching the undergraduate students, and the university is basically paying that. So they're saying that what this is essentially saying is creating parity. If you're a grad student and you're working at Starbucks, guess what? You're paying taxes on all that damn income. So
right. There
should be parity, and the universities at the moment can change it and say, all right, instead of saying that's going to be income for this teaching undergraduate stuff, we're just going to create it's just going to be a scholarship, and then it won't be taxed. So I mean, it's a bogus talking point that it works. It works with some respects, of course, because it sounds bad, and any tax credit is a talking point, if you will.
It is so bogus. It is so bogus, and those of us that that did have the opportunity to teach in undergraduate school as we got our graduate degree. I remember when I did it, my stipend was $500,000 a month. So, I had an income of $6,000. Well, I don't know how much it is now. Well, let's say it doubled to $1,000. Well, you're not going to pay any taxes because as a single person, your standard deduction is now $12,000. So if you're making $12,000 teaching at your college on a stipend, you pay no tax, zero. So why would you have to deduct the interest of your student loan when you don't pay any tax anyway? It is such a ridiculous argument. The other thing I said to him is the purpose of this tax bill is so that grad student, Scott Taylor, can graduate and get a job and then get a better job and then get a raise so that they have the money to then pay back their government student loan that they borrowed to go to college to get the job. It is an insane argument to say that, well, everything hinges on deducting my student loan interest. That's got nothing to do with anything. I mean, you borrow money, you pay it back. For the life of me, I don't get their arguments. And it's just an emotional thing to fire people up. You see the CNN poll today. I had it on at 5 a.m. 62% of Americans don't like the tax plan. You know why? Because the media has lied to them about it. That's why they don't like it. After it passes, they're going to love it. Don't you agree?
No, I do. I mean, you've just had this headwind sort of, a coalescence of anti-tax plan media, and then of course Republicans have this doomsday scenario with the government and stuff like that. But we just have to once it gets passed and people feel it in February, then we're going to have to ramp up our messaging, of course, to remind people of their the increase in money in their pocket. And that's, like I said, when you speak to folks and they actually feel it, when they're talking about their stocks or their 401k, they're like, yeah, this, it's pretty crazy, sounds crazy out there, but I feel good. I have more money in the bank, and so it's going to be a good thing. And like I said, I'm excited to vote for it.
All right. Well, it's going to make a big impact. Let's get to another issue that's coming up the next day or so, which is at the Federal Communications Commission, and the new chairman, Ajit Pai, put there by the president, is going to unravel Obama's net neutrality that might end up coming back to the House of Representatives. There's going to be some of your colleagues are going to introduce legislation for Congress to mandate a change back to that. Do you have any sense of whether you think this is a good idea or not?
Sure. I think it's a complicated issue to message. When you hear just net neutrality, well, I think everyone supports net neutrality, right? So, and what they're speaking about is the not having ISPs or other folks block them or throttle them, charging more for the same websites or stopping you from getting to certain websites. That's net neutrality, right? I think we all agree on that. In fact, I'm speaking with some, even in my freshman class on the other side, we're talking about, hey, listen, let's argue about the regulations, and we'll get to that in a second. But this, everyone can agree on this protection. We don't want to be blocked or throttled by folks. And that's what where the emotion is out there. But what the reality is, and what Mr. Pye's doing is, 2015 when they put these regulations on there, they tried to, first they tried to do it through regulations with the SEC a couple of times. They got feedback in the courts. This is the Obama administration, obviously, and then they reclassified it to telecoms, the ISPs like Verizon, AT&T, but also 4,000 other ISPs that provide access to internet in rural areas and stuff like that around the country. So when they reclassified it, they put it under Title II, which means way more regulation and power that centralizes the government. So what he's doing, what Pye's doing, is changing that back because it has dried up investment exactly where we need the investment in rural areas. So like the Eastern Shore and stuff like that, where you might have one provider, it's already difficult business-wise for them to move into these rural areas for broadband. And all this over-regulation does is stop some of the investment there. So I think he's right to move it back. However, my colleagues up here, we do have to act because he's pushing it sort of like when the president said, the Obama administration was wrong with DACA. We're pushing it back to Congress because that's where the purview should be. It's the same type of thing. Pye is getting, what are these regulations, pushing it back down to Congress, and we have to act in Congress for what net neutrality actually is, and that's sort of stopping the blocking and potential blocking and throttling of ISPs, which right now there are no cases of them really doing that. The people who are really doing that are the Googles and the Facebooks and stuff like that, who of course want to keep the Obama era regulations in because they get a competitive advantage. So Congress does have to act. We have to do net neutrality to protect people from blocking and throttling, and but that's going to be after Pye's, when he moves it down. Now, obviously, there's a lot of emotions out there because people believe by him doing this, then there's going to be blocking and throttling. So. But we're not done yet. He's got to push it down to us, and then we do have to act.
Okay.
I hope that I explained that okay.
You did the best job explaining a very complicated issue that I've heard in a long time, Scott Taylor, and I appreciate that. Thanks for being with us, Congressman, 2nd District Scott Taylor. More information, go to scotttaylor.com, scotttaylor.com.